Please take your seats. The meeting is about to begin. Remember to speak into the microphone, as this meeting is being recorded for public record. Please stand by. We are going on air in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the March Finance Economic Resiliency Committee. I want to welcome my colleagues up here. I want to welcome city staff, our residents. We even have some elected officials from Key Biscayne joining us. What makes this region special is the collaborative effort that we have. We have a lot of the same pluses, minuses, excitement, and also challenges that we're tackling, so it's good to do so together. We have a pretty robust agenda here coming up into such an exciting time of the year. It is just, it's comforting and great to sit here and actually welcome March with an excited anticipation as opposed to a month that we have dreaded, which we found ourselves oftentimes in the past. Why don't we go ahead, I'll kick things over to our city attorney, our CFO, and then we'll get moving with the time certains here.
Good morning. Today's meeting of the Finance and Economic Resiliency Committee has been scheduled in a hybrid format with a quorum of the committee physically present and remaining members, staff, and members of the public appearing either in person or virtually via Zoom. In order to participate in today's meeting virtually, members of the public may dial 1-888-475-4499 and enter the webinar ID, which is 863-6059-5462#, or log into the Zoom app and enter the webinar ID, which again is 863-6059-5462. Any individual wishing to speak on an item must click the raise hand icon if they are using the Zoom app, or dial *9 if participating by phone.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of announcements. OB5, OB7, and MB1 are deferred at the request of the sponsor. Items MB2 and MB10 pertaining to Lincoln Lane will be linked and heard together. And we have a one-time certain right off the bat at 10 a.m. MB6. Shall I call MB6?
We shall. We had somebody going into an all-out sprint effort, I hear, to get here for that time certain. I promise we would have waited and accommodated. But why don't you come up? You and your team have put in quite literally years of effort. And this is an exciting project. This took great involvement from an entire neighborhood organization, collaboration with our Parks and Rec division. So why don't we go ahead and tee things up and hear where this is going.
Thank you. MB6, referral to the Finance and Economic Resiliency Committee to direct the administration to draft an agreement between the City of Miami Beach and Sunset Islands 1 and 2 Homeowners Association for a self-funded installation of turf at the park at Sunset Island 2, MB6.
Okay. Good morning. John Rebar, Parks, Facilities, Fleet, and Beaches Director, and I'm here with a member of the Sunset Island 1 and 2 Homeowners Association. We were talking about a year and a half ago about doing a park master plan for that area. And due to funding, that can't happen right now. So the association came to us and is offering to go ahead and make an improvement at their expense, which we fully support. And that improvement is, they utilize that the park space on Island 2. And, there's one area that's heavily used, and the sod needs quite a bit of maintenance and replacement. And they're coming to us saying, we'd like to artificial turf that area so it's more resilient and doesn't need shutdown periods. So it's a great project that we fully support.
Why don't I turn it over to you? Your braggadocious moment for all the work that you and your team have put in.
No, not braggadocious at all. We greatly appreciate working with the City of Miami Beach. You guys have always been great partners with us on various projects. We appreciate it. Our island is fortunate to have this green space in the middle of it. A lot of the demographics of the island have changed. There are a lot of kids on the island now. It really gets utilized daily, multiple times a day for mommy and me classes, soccer classes, get-togethers. It's a great community space. Unfortunately, the smallest amount of rain and it turns into a mud pit or a swamp, and everything has to get canceled. We would love to be able to use it more frequently and possibly year-round. Also hoping to save the city some money in the long run. I know last year alone it was resodded twice because of this. So we think that this could be mutually beneficial. We're happy to outlay the capital. We've gotten bids. We are fortunate enough that one of our members is a developer who has contacts and has done this type of thing before. The bid comes from a company who has worked with municipalities before and is ready and willing to work with the city of Miami Beach with whatever code requirements there are. And we just think it would be a mutually beneficial thing for the city and for the neighborhood.
Yeah, so kidding aside, I want to thank you and the entire association that's been working on this for really spearheading this. I want to almost send an apology that we weren't able to essentially, tackle this as a partner. I'm fully aware of the taxes you all pay out there. I would have loved to have delivered a park. We attempted to in our last budget session. I think, Jason, we had about $40 million of enhancements that we were trying to fit into a $4 million bucket. And I would love to sit here and look you in your eyes and say, we weren't able to last year. We have you this year. That's not a promise that we can make. That literally hurts me because, our residents deserve that. But I also don't want to let that stand in the way of progress. And I think this is, fortunately or unfortunately, the best, most expeditious path to move forward. And I'm truly grateful for you and your team taking that on, because this isn't just about you individually. This is collective for the entire community out there. So on behalf of myself, thank you very much. And thank you for what you're doing for our city.
Thank you. Thank all of you.
So, yeah, please. We're interactive here.
Well, this sounds like a really great opportunity for Sunset Island too, and I definitely have seen in other parks where the sodding and resodding and then waiting 6 to 8 weeks, you can't touch it until the sod sets. So it'll really beautify and make it useful, so it sounds good to me. I do have a question. I thought that swale was slated for a pump station in the future. Is that still gonna happen? Or is this park temporary or, and if it is in the future?
We sent the schematics over to, and they, I believe, cross-referenced it with the pump station project to confirm that that's not where the pump station's going.
Correct. I had both CIP and Public Works take a look at this area, and any future pump station doesn't affect this project site.
Even better.
Yes.
We want to be efficient, we want to do it once, and one and done, and once the pump comes in, we'll work with you then to whatever that requires.
Maybe we could outside contract you and your team for future projects here.
We have a great team.
Excellent. Mr. CFO?
So do we want to return this to
Full
commission?
commission, yes.
Okay, so I think we would show this as returning to the commission with a favorable recommendation to direct the administration to draft an agreement between the City of Miami Beach and Sunset Islands 1 and 2 Homeowners Association for self-funded installation of a turf space at the park at Sunset Islands 2. Who will be making the motion? Who will be seconding?
I'll move it.
Okay,
I'll
motion-
second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Item passes. MB6. Thank you.
Thank you again, truly.
Thank you so much. We look forward to working together for many years to come.
As do we. Let's talk about excitement in our city. It's just incredible, some of the progress that Lincoln Road is making, and looking forward to what it can be. I think we're all excited about that. So, Mr. CFO, let's kick off our Lincoln Lane discussions.
Okay. It'll be MB2 and MB10, so let me read them in. MB2, discuss potential improvements and maintenance agreement with MAC Management 2 LLC for Lincoln Lane North right-of-way. That's MB2, and it'll be heard and linked with MB10. Discuss a resolution of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of Miami Beach, Florida, authorizing the city manager to execute any land use board applications necessary to facilitate the review of proposed improvements to the Lincoln Lane North right-of-way adjacent to the properties located at 723 Lincoln Lane North, 721 Lincoln Road, and 741 Lincoln Road. Said improvements to be undertaken in connection with a potential improvement and maintenance agreement between the city and MAC LR Holdco LLC, the agent for the contract purchaser of the subject properties, and providing that the final decision to proceed with the project shall be made by the Mayor and City Commission following receipt of a recommendation from the Finance and Economic Resiliency Committee related to the potential improvement and maintenance agreement, MB10.
Ozzy.
Good morning. Ozzy Dominguez, Division Director of Asset Management. As Mr. Green has stated. MAC owns a couple of the buildings that are adjacent to this area of Lincoln Lane North, which is 723 North Lincoln Lane, the Eatery and the Marshalls Building, and 719 Lincoln Road. They did put together a PowerPoint that they'd like to present with design concepts, which is what we would like to discuss today, get some direction from committee, and then come back in the future, one of the next finance meetings to present full terms with a recommendation go to commission. And with that, I'd like to introduce, is it going to be Mr. Comras and team?
Michael, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our presentation, and I appreciate you guys all focused on this. Lincoln Lane, of course, and Lincoln Road is something super exciting for the city of Miami Beach, and something that I'm hoping that we can help put a dent in to start bringing it back. And it's already feeling some really positive energy, but I do think that really what it needs is a great shot in the arm. And I think Lincoln Road, as we've seen, and as I've said before, Lincoln Road as a single street district is really unsustainable. And that's been proven over the last 10 years as areas all around the city of Miami and all around the county have gone and really tried to take away the thunder of Lincoln Road. And, Lincoln Road does have challenges. It is, the properties are generally 150 feet deep or 100 foot deep. And a lot of times when you have individual property owners, maybe 40 different property owners controlling 50 feet at a time, it's very tough to create a merchandising mix that becomes appealing to contemporary consumers and retailers and restaurateurs. So what we've done is we've created a sort of a micro district really at the heart of Lincoln Road, which is really set to capture the attention of the locals, which is super important because as a local, I'm here, and Michael Conrad with offices at 1261 20th Street. I'm a resident here for about 32 years. I've seen all the ups and downs, but really what brings me back to Lincoln Road is really the ability to collect a few buildings contiguous, which allows us then to curate and merchandise effectively. Part of that is expanding Lincoln Road to the north. For years, we've talked about developing Lincoln Lane and the streets to going up to 17th Street. And, it's unfortunate that some of those RFPs didn't work. But right now, what I'm looking to do is to push the development to the north over to Lincoln Lane. And if you can see, it's hard to see through the subscript there. But today, what the site looks like, the back of the buildings facing Lincoln Road, is a very troubled alley. It's probably one of the ugliest pictures I've seen on Miami Beach. And I sat outside with the manager across the street at the Eatery a couple of months ago, and I looked at this and I said, this really shouldn't be allowed to exist in our city. We really need to do something. And I'm in the process of acquiring these properties. And that means what I do, don't give me 20 violations, just help me figure out how we can best really take this to the next evolution. So what we're really doing is taking what is the backs of the buildings that front Lincoln Road and making them a second front. And that second front will face the Eatery. So you have a unified street. And here, if you look up at the plan, you can sort of see the existing conditions where you have next to the former Saks Fifth Avenue building, all the way to the right, you have a series of little stores. You have a restaurant that is 25 foot wide with 145 foot depth. That was the old Taverna restaurant. And then you're at 721, 723, you have very small storefronts, very deep space. This is an issue that is affecting all property owners on Lincoln Road. For years, we spent time taking buildings that were only built 75 feet deep, making them 150 foot deep to cater to contemporary retailers that wanted large flagship stores, like Nike. Today, after the retail apocalypse and the changing nature of retail, a lot of the flagship stores today want to be 1,500 square feet. That's a problem for Lincoln Road. It's a problem for a lot of other areas as well, but Lincoln Road, because of the way it's built, really suffers from that quite a bit. So the two big ideas that we've brought up to really change the nature of this area is the introduction of a via. A via is a paseo, a walkway. It's a place that provides a sense of discovery to somebody walking on the street. So here, as you can see, We cut a paseo in, a via Noli, which stands for North Lincoln, and it takes pedestrians really from Lincoln Road to the north part, to what is today the alley. And by doing that, as you can see, what we're able to do is to cut in stores to the east and to the west, smaller boutiques, very European, very charming type boutiques, and provides that sense of discovery, leading you back to the big plaza at the rear. Now, this via is not just an open via. It's not just an extension of Lincoln Road with the sun and the heat and everything. This is actually a covered via, a place where people can escape, a place where there'll be ceiling fans. All we're doing is we're knocking out the existing storefront, the existing back of the building, maintaining the existing structure. And within that structure, we're going to be installing ceiling fans, storefronts, blade signs, creepy vines, vibe, and so on. And that will create a great activation and provide that sense of discovery for people who are traveling down Lincoln Road. Lincoln Road, as you know, in the pedestrian portions of Lincoln Road, not the middle, there's virtually no shade. They're all palm trees to the extent that they exist. Our feeling for the via and coming back to Lincoln Lane is really more of a shaded type of an approach. Lincoln Lane will become a true street off the street, almost like a modern day Espanola Way, where people just come about it and they don't even know where it is, how it got there, and so on. But I think the opportunity that we have is creating a via to a street off the street, creating a micro district of about 150,000 square feet with over 1,700 linear feet of frontage, catering to about 40 like-minded boutiques, cafes, and lifestyle uses to congregate together. Our goal, again, is to attract locals. This is a project by locals, for locals. And with me, I have Jackie Tuzet here, who can walk you through some of the design elements that we've been working on.
Hi, good morning. I know this is a tight agenda, so I'm going to take you just really quickly through some of the visioning that we did for this district, which is super exciting. I've been on Lincoln Road since I was 3. I love Lincoln Road. I've lived on and off Miami Beach my whole life. And we are the architects of Nike, Apple, and Gap, and we also are the architects of the 800 building, which has Mila, the restaurant that it's done right now #1 in the country with a rooftop restaurant. So when we looked at this, we love the opportunity, as Michael said, of bringing back locals, and we think Miami Beach is a brand and has a DNA that should be respected. And when you do anything off of a world-class pedestrian street, we want to kind of play off of that. Michael's idea of creating a district that was pedestrian-friendly, that was human-scaled, that would bring back some of these smaller retailers that are struggling to make it happen on Lincoln Road really appealed to us, as did this, making it more sustainable, bringing down the temperature, adding shade. For us, those things are key to making any space. The images on the screen are just different activations. Miami Beach has a history of little moments along storefronts that are individualized, that are specific. We want to bring some of that ideas into Lincoln Lane so that each retailer feels special, because it's important for them to have their own identity within a bigger context. We have the big black and white piano curves and the swooping pink of Miami Beach, so our idea was to stay kind of monochrome but playful, and this is kind of the younger, fun sister of Lincoln Road, where you go and discover smaller things that you, up-and-coming boutiques, mom and pop, and also, nice independent boutiques as well. In order to make this happen, shade and a respite, an urban retreat, an urban kind of green area in the city was really appealing to us. It also really works from a climate and sustainable standpoint. There is nothing more sustainable than working with existing fabric. So the adaptive reuse of an alley and buildings along the edge are really, really appeal to us, because we think that's the future. So the eatery building is going to have interventions to bring more greenery on it. We're going to try to bring a lot more shade trees to this project, and everywhere along the way, as many activations culturally to play off of what we want to see on Lincoln Road, and was starting to happen on Lincoln Road. So this could also have, in the plaza space, could participate in the cultural life of the city. And this is just a quick, I'm going to just show you some of the vision that we have. You see on the left what it is. As you start to clean it up, you add a little pop-up retailer in the corner. You add elements like this, little wall fountains, shade. Shade is huge. And all of a sudden, it really takes on a charm and something that you discover that you didn't know was there, and it's human scaled. And the same thing with the eatery building, adding some trellis columns, adding greenery bands, and bringing down the scale of the ceiling so it feels more human.
So when I think about the placement of this is just south of where the Marshalls and Lincoln Lane is.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
So we're talking about that one block area?
Yes, and so you're doing the improvements on Meridian, which is super
Mm-hmm.
exciting. You're doing the improvements on Lincoln Road, and this space here is just unfinished and is not very attractive to humans. And when you get the convention center going, this is a place that people could walk through and on their way to Lincoln Road. So we need to kind of address it. We shouldn't leave it as it is. And so we looked at this intersection where you see the eatery building, and you see the building that, I don't know, formerly had the fins, for example, and this is what it could look like. This is as it is, although the fins are out. And here it is, just greening the corner, adding the elements we're talking about for the eatery building, and bringing in significant shade trees, not palm trees, but trees that actually bring down the temperature, make it, really human scale. And then doing 2 islands that are significant. We're still working on this. The idea of the restaurant is we love rooftop restaurants and we love green roofs, so we try to bring them in as a possibility to whatever project we work on. We think it would be amazing to have that kind of an experience there, but it could also be without the restaurant. So these are just possibilities that we're exploring. And here you see a
Jackie, I have some
section.
questions.
Oh,
I'll
please.
go back to the other slide, if you don't mind. So currently, there's parking spaces there, but it's also a loading zone. Is the vision to have that pedestrian?
Yes, I'm sorry, I
And
should have
obviously,
mentioned
there'll
that.
be loss of parking, but there's a lot in garage available for people. Where would the loading zone go?
The loading zones would be tucked, let me show, go back to the plan. The idea is that we would keep the loading off so our idea now is actually to take out the parking spaces and make this entire area pedestrian, because we realized we weren't getting the shade trees we need when we have the parking. So in order to make this really work, and this is an iteration, so the loading is happening in this area, and we would have access. And this is still going to be a pedestrianized mall, it's still going to have access, and we're working with the fire marshals to determine what width they need, but it would be completely paved over. So a pedestrian experience that still has access, but that's the idea.
So
Is there going to be valet?
The valet could happen here, and it could, there's, we're still looking
One
at that.
concern that comes to mind, like in front of Mila, because it's one way each way, it's a disaster
Yes.
there with valet, so that would be tough.
Yeah, they're doing the pedestrianization on Drexel, and I think those pedestrianizations need to factor in valet and where to have them, and we're definitely would.
Yeah, if I can jump in. So clearly, loading and unloading is very important for us. And today, the way the alley's situated, today you have those transformers and the dumpsters, which are front and center, and that's your main exposure as you're walking down the street. What we've done with the new layout, and if you could go to the next slide, you can see along the side, we've actually created side yard corridor coming along the small shop space, and that's providing for a new transformer and loading and trash bins and so on. So we've consolidated all the trash and transformers internalized into the buildings, and what we're working on is the strategy of trash removal and deliveries. Right now, it's moving more towards the eastern end, where the cursor is, and you can see where we've sort of reduced the sort of sidewalk experience there in order to provide loading and drop-off zones. And then we would work on valet as well, whether that would be over towards the Meridian Avenue side or the Meridian Court side.
Yes, and so these are just, again, the vision of the space, and then the idea of a paseo is something that's existed in urban centers for many years. It's in our climate, if you do the fans and you design it with the proper heights, we're reusing some of the elements in the ceiling, the Dade County pine roof and the trusses, so we think it's an interesting look inside what these shops were like. And again, we love the idea of having these micro boutiques that don't have to invest in having these giant stores, and that allows for them to participate in the life of Lincoln Road, just off of Lincoln Road in this via. And that's a vision of what that could look like. We're imagining like a speakeasy over the via. It kind of peeks into the arcade and also onto Lincoln Road. Again, always looking for the opportunity to do a rooftop experience or just have more kind of fun discoveries along Lincoln Road. And this is what we're imagining for the Lincoln Road side of the project. A lot of these retailers can also have open air or, open like indoor outdoor spaces, which is phenomenally, successful for a lot of the restaurants that we're seeing and that kind of usage. So that's what we've.
Michael, do you own all the properties on Lincoln in between, what is that, Meridian and Meridian Court? Or
Yes.
will you need buy-in from other property owners?
We're in control of all of the properties
Okay.
on front both sides of
Okay.
the street. I just wanted to reiterate, as you see, this is the Lincoln Road elevation, and I don't think we have a slide of what that existing 150-foot facade looks like, but, you know, over the years, these buildings were built back in the 20s and 30s, and they were really built great buildings. They have great ceiling height. You know, once we removed 2 or 3 ceilings that were built into these spaces, we were able to actually get to the upper ceiling height. And over time, these storefronts, which had very little knee walls, all of a sudden in the 50s, 60s, 70s, the knee walls got taller, the storefronts got shorter, the eyebrows and the canopies got lower. So it looks like today that you have these very low ceilings within these storefronts. And as a matter of fact, when we start cutting it out, we start to say, oh my God, we can really make this back to what it was. I mean, this was the Fifth Avenue of the South. I'm not suggesting that we're going to get to design district, you know, super uber luxury, but I think attainable and great contemporary boutiques. This is what they're looking for. Spaces that range from 500 to 4,000 square feet are ideal and optimal for boutique-type tenants. Yeah, we have the ability to merge some spaces, and we may, if we're the right tenant, to combine, make it 8,000 feet. But the goal here is small shops and the ability for people to get in here and really create a diversity of mix. You know, a lot of times today when people walk down Lincoln Road and they scratch their head and they say, look, I see some great tenants here and a couple of good restaurants, but it's not gelling. So we're hoping that the VIA, the activation of Lincoln Lane, will start a trend along further Lincoln Lane, because all of those backs should be second fronts. They should not be backs of buildings. I mean, you have a beautiful symphony building, and it's staring at the backs of buildings. So I think, you know, hopefully that people will embrace what we've done here, or what we're looking to do here, and say, hey, how can I do this to my property? And hopefully it'll become kinetic and people will all work together. I mean, it's just super exciting. I've owned property on Lincoln Road for well over 20 years. We sold a bunch, but I maintained 2. And I know in the preamble, it said that we were under contract. We actually do own the properties now. And so it's really come a long way. We're excited about it. So we really wanted to
So what do you need from us?
This was just an introduction to you. We're coming back next month to discuss the MIA agreement for the Lincoln Lane improvements, and that's really what we're looking at.
Great, I love the project.
Yeah, I love it as well. And what eventually are you going to need from us?
Well, I can talk about that. Hey, good morning, everyone.
Nice
Graham
guy.
Penn. The boring part, Graham Penn, 200 South Biscayne Boulevard. So these are the 3 major elements that are necessary for this project. First 2 are related to this committee. The improvement maintenance, management and maintenance agreement, which we're, as staff indicated and Michael repeated, we're currently negotiating with the department. We hope to bring the entire city. We hope to bring it back to you in April for your recommendation. The Historic Preservation Board application necessary for the Lincoln Lane improvements, that's NB 10, so we would ask for a positive recommendation on that today. Allowing to go to the commission to allow the commission to allow staff to file that application when we get to the point of an agreement. And then, of course, our individual DRB approvals, which are not relevant to you. Just the basics of where we are with the improvement agreement. Right now, this is as currently drafted, the design, funding, and construction of all those improvements on Lincoln Lane would be funded by the developer. The city would only be cooperating in that approval process, which will include the county, and I don't think the state, but at least the county. And once it's completed, we would be responsible for all regular cleaning and maintenance of that entire area. In exchange for that, as currently drafted, and these are negotiation topics, obviously, that there would be contemplation of allowing expanded cafe seating into the pedestrianized area, as well as giving the developer additional management control over that area, similar to Espanola Way. And then, of course, we're talking about additional things with staff at this point. So today, the only action item, I think, and
But what does
Mr.
developer
Green can
manages events and programming mean?
well, we're working through that, Commissioner. Basically, the concept is that special events, any activity in there, the developer would act as kind of a intermediary between the individuals that want to have an event there and the city, so that we can control the nature of activities in that area. So to avoid events that are problematic, et cetera. So that's, again, what we're in the middle of the term sheet discussions about, but it's important, and Michael can echo that, I'm sure, that the quality of what goes on that portion of Lincoln Lane is controlled, and that's the idea.
How about in the design district? Because I oftentimes get envious of some of the events that they have over there on the road. Is that done by the city, or is that done by the private developer?
That's all done by the private developer, the owner.
Okay.
So-
Monetary. Is there an ask? Is there not?
No.
If I can,
Currently, on the current draft, there's no ask for the city funding.
So, I mean, how do we get started with this tomorrow?
if I can, I think.
Everybody laughs, but why does it take so long to do anything here? Like, let's get this started. This Nice Guy restaurant went to HPB years ago, and we're no further along. How do we go from conceptual to actually getting things done? And Mike, I don't think we could be in better hands than having you do it. What more do you need from us? Not just to kick this along, but accelerate this, right? I
So
don't have all the time in the world. I want to enjoy Lincoln Road with my daughter. I want our residents to enjoy it, not in 10 years. Yeah, I want to do something now.
So if, I would say if you could pull up the plan of the future concept plan, I can tell you that the Lincoln Road portion of this project, from Lincoln Road to Lincoln Lane before the right-of-way, that whole portion of Lincoln Road will be completed within the next 12 months. The only reason why we can't complete Lincoln Lane or the improvements to the eatery to the north is because there's currently a staging area for the Meridian Avenue improvements, and that presumably will be done by the end of this year. Our plan would be to have all our improvements or approvals in place so that as soon as that staging area is moved, it comes in and we finish out, and then we complete the improvements to the north side of Lincoln Lane, and it's done. So this is really less than an 18-month project, as long as we can get through our process.
And there's no ability to kind of piggyback doing both these projects simultaneously?
The problem is I have
About the
the
staging.
staging area in the middle of Lincoln Lane. So until that staging area gets moved, with the completion of the Lincoln Road, the Meridian Avenue improvements, we won't have access to that.
Okay. David Gomez, could you maybe, not now, work with the team here to see if there's anything that can be done to be able to fire these projects off simultaneously? And then turning that, what is just an embarrassment, the backs of those buildings now in this alleyway, into something beautiful like you're proposing. How do you do that? Like, how are you retrofitting the buildings? I know I'm using the
Yeah,
wrong
so this
terminology.
is, again, I've been on the beach doing things like this for about 30 years. This is a project that's actually rooted in adaptive reuse. So I'm not building anything, maybe a little bit, but nothing of consequence. It's really just to round off some edges. But really, this is adaptive reuse in its classic form, and that's what we, and I did with Jackie and Carlos, we did the Nike building, we did the Apple building, we did the Gap building, and we've done a bunch of work together over the years, and, it was very important to me to have these guys alongside because they understand my vision and my dream, and, to me, I want it to be a new area that really ties together everything you guys are doing. I mean, you guys are building a convention center hotel, you're doing all these Meridian Avenue improvements. I'm just sort of playing off of that and really tying it all together, because if you think about somebody who's leaving the convention center or the convention center hotel, they go to 17th Street and they're staring at the parking garage. So the notion of improving Meridian Avenue is a
The
new
newly
gateway.
wrapped parking garage.
I'm sorry?
The newly wrapped in a mural.
Newly wrapped with padel courts on top,
Yes.
which will be amazing. But, the notion of people walking from Convention Center Drive west to Meridian Avenue is great in theory, but a lot of times people will stop short and go right to Meridian Court. And if you look at Meridian Court, it's another alley, just not as ugly as the one that we're attacking. But I do believe that at the end of Meridian Court, where the Forever 21, the former Forever Saks Fifth Avenue building is, we're going to improve that area so the visual for somebody who's maybe walking by Meridian Court will be just amazing. So they may be drawn to walk there or they'll walk to Meridian Avenue, but they're not going to be lost. And I walked with a number of the commissioners and the administration through this, and we've stood in that alley. And you see people walking out of the parking garage, the 1,500-car parking garage, and they're looking around and like, okay, I know there's a Lincoln Road here somewhere, just where is it? And you see them literally walking down and they see the eatery and then they look to the left and they see these dumpsters and they're like, this can't be the approach to Lincoln Road. So really, this project really ties it all together and really is.
No, thank you, super excited. Is there a motion that needs to be made today?
Yes, I think that there are two. So under MB10, it would be return to commission with a favorable recommendation to authorize the city manager to execute any land use board applications necessary to facilitate the review of the proposed improvements as presented. So I think that would be the first motion.
And my only comment that I'll make is to really work on the loading zone and the valet, so that when we see it at commission, there's a clear description of what's happening, because those two areas are important.
So we show, Commissioner Suarez made the motion. Who, we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then we have a second.
Public comment?
Please.
She just got off.
There's and then the second one is related to MB2, which Ozzy will correct me if I'm off here, is this item is to return to FERC with an update and final terms of an improvement management and maintenance agreement.
That is correct.
Okay. So who will be making that motion?
I'll move it.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Both items passed 3-0. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank
Thank you.
you so much.
Look forward to seeing you next month.
Look forward to it. Why don't we, I know we have a resident here, and I'd love to get our residents out as quick as possible, out of respect for their time. Why don't we talk about the installed bird bath water feature at Park, Monica?
Sorry. MB5, discuss the installation of a plumbed bird bath water feature at Belle Isle Park. MB5.
Hi, I'll be brief. Monica Tracy, Miami Beach resident, 45 years. And you all make living in Miami-Dade County tolerable. Thank you. This small bird bath.
We have paradise down here. This is, it's positive. This is the center of the world.
It's the best.
The best.
Okay, this would be a small structure about 3 feet high with maybe an 18-inch by 18-inch base. There would be a drain field involved. There is, it would be built of a natural-looking substance. It would be tall enough for a big dog to drink water out of it, but it's not intended as a dog drinking fountain. It needs a 1 or 2 horsepower motor. It needs an electric line, which could be solar powered or not. It also, like I said, needs a drain field. It's a water feature, so Barry Miller of Miller Savino is ready to help me. We might not even be able to find a location that works in the park, and it could be by the sewage pumping station. That's fine too. This is he's ready to help, and the director of operations over at Botanical Garden, he really knows water features and could help, and I'm sorry, I'm not good at this. A favorable recommendation from this committee would help with the neighbors committee. I'll be only 1 more minute. Thais in the Geo Bond Department said that there is 1 million allocated for Belle Isle that's unspent from Geo Bond money. That's for above ground infrastructure, but that tranche might not have been funded. I don't know. I am personally willing to deposit into some type of account $2,000 of funds to pay for materials, which aren't going to be, some rocks and, a pump, materials and consulting, Miller Savino and the Botanical Garden guy, but I don't want to pay for labor. So I'm willing to pony up $2,000. and I don't know how that works, but, and just in closing, I volunteer at Pelican Harbor, and I've brought in, 40 birds over the last few years since I retired, and only 8 of those birds have lived, maybe. It's really heartbreaking to deal with what our wildlife goes through down here. They don't have a lobbyist, and a little bird bath would be
I'm their lobbyist.
a nice thing. Thank you.
Now, Monica, if you don't mind, I think you just rushed to the point. What are you building?
It's a bird bath.
Okay.
It's a little stone structure about 3 feet high. It has a dish on top. The water flow has to be regulated. It will need some cleaning and maintenance. I'm willing to clean it, but I don't think that's a big issue for the Parks Department.
Okay, so John, what do you have? You've studied this. How much is it going to cost?
But on the information that we have, without looking for, even she said we got to find the right location, we were estimating around $15,000, not including whatever type of maintenance. And you know how these water features work, the pumps running 24 hours a day need maintenance and often fail. Right now, it's like working the location. I know Monica for years. She sends me videos of her bird releases, and it's wonderful. I'm hearing from the neighbors a little bit concerned about attracting more birds, bird waste, bird feathers, the children on the playground, the pets at the playground. Working through that side of the process, we looked at this as just a bird bath. What would it cost if it went somewhere in the park?
Okay, and is it true that we could use GeoBond funds for this?
I don't believe so. They're not in the parks bucket, but I don't want to speak specifically.
Yeah, we have Thais here. I think they'd be concerned with that because those monies were set aside specifically to pay for the above-ground portion of major capital improvements related to water sewer. But Thais?
Yes, so one of Thais Vieira, Director of the GeoBond Program. One of the projects that we have in the 2018 bond is called above-ground improvements and includes a number of projects. And those funds were intended to supplement infrastructure improvement projects. So, water and sewer, stormwater projects that you need above ground improvements, lighting, landscape, et cetera. So that was the intent. Belle Isle has, within that bucket, $1 million allocated.
If I can, that's also since it's such a small amount, it wouldn't meet their capitalization threshold. So this would be something more likely, though, one might state capital, would more likely be funded of operations.
So when would we be able to get a hard cost for us to consider and approve it, or is 15,000 the number?
Right, I think, and Jason could maybe assist me with direction from the committee to put more effort towards maybe not engaging with, but looking at design, water connections, drainage, things like that. Probably take 45 days because we've got the liberty.
I'm okay with just continuing the idea and seeing what it would take. I don't know how my colleagues feel about that.
Sure.
It was dual referred, and the neighborhood this is the request of one resident that would affect thousands and thousands of people in a neighborhood. So I think it's fair to hear from the neighborhood association, and it's going to be heard at one of the upcoming neighborhood association meeting to see if there's interest from the body and the community to have it. So continuing it sounds fair, and then we can hear what the community thinks about it.
Okay, yes, we do have a memo in for the neighborhoods.
Yeah, so we can continue it here, and then we can then hear it at neighborhoods and see what people say.
Sounds good.
So the direction is to continue exploring from the finance committee.
Okay, we will continue to explore, yes.
So if I can, so the item will not be closed, the item will return at the appropriate time. My understanding is there's a neighborhood association meeting, so you'll be looking to get some.
It was referred to Public Safety and Neighborhood Quality of Life Committee to be discussed there, and the neighborhood association there can weigh in on what they feel.
Okay, so we'll have the item return after the neighborhoods committee with its recommendation. Okay.
Well, just so we're clear, the direction is also you can continue to explore and dig a little deeper, right? And if it pans out at neighborhood, great. If it doesn't, then we you'll be updated. But I think we don't want to slow down the process of possibly moving this forward.
Yeah, yes, sir. We'll dig deeper.
Yeah, that being said, I don't want to hear it back here before we get feedback in neighborhoods. And because I don't think there's a huge financial ask here. It's just whether this is, preferred and wanted.
Okay, for the neighborhood, I understand. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much, Monica.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I call North Bay Village.
So Jason, no vote or motion needed on that, correct?
Yeah, yes, Chair, I think we'll just return to FERC after the Neighborhoods Committee's recommendation, but to proceed with exploration of the project.
Yep, how about we hear NB, I believe it's 3, expanded access for North Bay Village residents at Normandy Park Pool.
MB3, discuss take action to expand access and discounted rates for North Bay Village residents at Normandy Park Pool and North Beach Recreational Program, MB3.
Would be maybe introduce and let us know if we'll be seeing you at Woodapalooza again this year.
Yeah, let's see it. Goran Cook, 7901 Hispaniola Avenue, North Bay Village. And good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioner, members of the staff, members of the public. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak before you all today about this item. But I actually wanted to start by thanking you all for the hard work that you guys all put in every day, especially over the past few years. I love Miami Beach. If I'm not in North Bay Village, your neighboring community, I'm in Miami Beach. I'm walking the boardwalk over there, shopping at Normandy businesses. My friends are all in South Beach, Mid Beach. This is where I spend my time. This is my home. And I love the transformation and the work that you guys have put in here over the last 2 years. Obviously, crime is down. Public safety is a priority. There's been a rebranding towards health and wellness. And on top of all that, you guys have still found a way to give residents back $500 in tax rebates. So congratulations on all that success. I love what I'm seeing, and I look forward to seeing what you guys continue to accomplish over the next couple years. So I'm really excited about this ongoing partnership, and this is something that's been in the works for a while, and it's been ongoing. And I wanted to highlight a couple of things that are already going on. So we already have an existing MOU between our police department and yours. They work together very well. We give our police boat out for the Air and Sea Show for spring break. We're supporting with spring break police activities this year, and as we have last year. Your police department supported us in an unfortunate traffic fatality that we had last week. So all of those are great synergies that we have. It's great resource sharing, and it's an area that we want to continue to expand. And we started that a couple months ago with the trolley program. So we have the Miami Beach trolley. We expanded that access to come to North Bay Village once a month for the culture crawls. And that's been very successful in both directions. It's helped alleviate traffic in North Beach. It's also given us a new mode of transportation to offer our residents. And of course, we're also covering the cost of that additional trolley access that we have. So it's another revenue stream for Miami Beach. And we also have a free YMCA summer camp for Miami Beach residents that are zoned to ties. We have a free and paid soccer program or discounted soccer program for Miami Beach residents in North Bay Village as well. And very exciting, we have a new community center that's opening up by the end of the year. 3 stories with a lot of multi-purpose fields, paddle courts, and lots of other recreational programming that we plan to have there. And we plan to expand that access to Miami Beach residents as well. So that's going to be another great area of partnership looking forward towards the end of the year. So really I'm here today to express my support for this item, for item NB3. I wanted to thank Vice Chair Suarez for your leadership and spearheading this initiative and joining a lot of the calls between our 2 communities and continuing the spirit of collaboration because it's the best it's ever been, and we hope to make it stronger. So this item is about expanded access for discounted rates for my North Bay Village residents at Miami Beach. Programming and recreational facilities, including Normandy Pool, Normandy Golf Course, and most of the areas in the North Shore neighborhood. This should create more revenue opportunities for your Parks and Rec department. It should create more economic opportunities. Hopefully more people are coming into the area, parking, walking around, dining and shopping, and building more community in the area. So open to questions and feedback.
Maybe if we move forward here, we could work on some preferred access to Palm Tree Club up in your
Yeah,
area.
of course. Absolutely, anytime.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
So I have some questions. And this might be for Jason, because I know that when we have high-impact weekends and we get police departments from other jurisdictions, Miami Beach is paying for the police officers. Are we paying for the North Bay Village officers, or is North Bay Village giving it to us?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure of that answer.
I believe it's paid.
By Miami Beach or by North Bay Village?
By Miami Beach.
Okay. You mentioned that there's a community center coming and exploring access. Can we get something concrete instead of aspirational, so that way it looks reciprocal on paper? And I understand if maybe just for 33141 zip code, because North Bay Village has 8,000 residents and Miami Beach has 80,000 plus, so we wouldn't want to bombard you, but to make it fair, to have something in writing, drawn out, concrete, because right now just saying, yeah, we're looking at giving you access, and maybe when it's built, we don't get anything.
Yeah, perhaps there's somebody maybe internally within staff that could work on like a comprehensive partnership and collaboration, because you laid out so many great things, and we truly are interconnected partners. Those boundary lines to me are invisible, right? We're one community. So I love this idea here. I love access. I followed along. I'm envious of the new community center you're bringing online. Hopefully we get to have our own, where we can also offer reciprocal access to your residents soon as well. But perhaps we could kind of tackle a collaborative, comprehensive partnership.
Pretty soon we'll just take over North Bay Village.
It's just
Ricky wanted to add
This is just one step. Yeah, look, I think Commissioner Dominguez does bring up a good point. Let's have something in writing. Let's maybe perhaps through an MOU or something. And I'm sure you guys could figure that out. I think
Sure,
you have
yeah.
a big soccer program coming.
Right,
and
right.
Our kids would love to be part of that.
Yeah.
And take advantage of that. So.
Yeah, and that's a lot of that's in place already today. And what we're looking at is obviously we don't want to overburden you either. We're looking at the off-peak hours. When it's when Normandy Pool's not in use, and I know most of the time throughout the week it's empty. When I go by there, drive by there, and we had a partnership in place on this actually in the past, where our residents had access to that pool for, I think it was $1. This was about 6 to 8 years ago. And less than
Or
two.
you have support. Just let's work on something that's, like
Yeah.
Commissioner Dominguez said, something concrete. And
Yeah.
then I think it's going to be easy from there.
Perfect, yeah. That sounds good. Let's do it.
For next step, the MOU or whatever we call it would come back to committee, or would go directly to commission?
Yeah, make it easier, Commission.
If I can, I'm just making some notes here. So I think what it would do is this would return to commission to direct the administration to draft an agreement between the city of Miami Beach and North Bay Village for expanded access and discounted rates for North Bay Village residents at Normandy Park Pool. I'm hearing Normandy Golf Course and North Beach Recreational Program with reciprocity for Miami Beach residents at some facilities within North Bay Village, and
let's not limit it. Let's leave it to staff to just work open-ended and collaborative, and see how we can have the most reciprocal relationship as possible.
Okay. Who is making that motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item passes 3-0, MB3. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll
Thank
see
you
you
all.
soon.
Appreciate it.
Why don't we hear? So what was the Reef Line item, Mr. CFO?
We can, MB9. We'll call it MB9. Discuss request for the city to provide a $5,000 sponsorship for a Reef Line activation during Earth Week Miami, taking place from April 22nd through April 26th, 2026, MB9.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Lisa Arrogante, Director of Tourism and Culture. I'm happy to share this. This is a feel-good item. It's a proposed partnership between Eco Channel and the Reef Line to provide a community event in Miami Beach on April 25th surrounding Earth Day to provide some snorkeling and possible scuba diving to the Reef Line. We do have representatives here who could talk a little bit about more of the details, but they're asking for $5,000 for the costs for the scuba diving, and I believe there's a 30% donation to the Reef Line.
And before we call them out, why don't we open it to Commissioner Bott to kick this off or give some comments as well.
Commissioner Bott, please unmute yourself.
Hi, everybody. I wanted to
We don't hear you, Commissioner.
Just give her 1
I'm
second.
sorry,
She's
can you hear
coming.
me?
There she is.
Okay. Thank you for the introduction, Lisette. I also want to give the folks from Reef Line a chance to talk about this directly, but I urge our unanimous support on this so we can bring it back on March 18th. The Reef Line is amazing, and it is right off our shores. There are a lot of people, though, who might not feel comfortable going out to explore it on their own for the first time, and this is a tremendous opportunity to invite our residents to go out there and learn about it firsthand from the folks who are deeply involved. So with that, I'll turn it over to Brandy and Bibi.
Ladies,
If
please.
they'd like to come up.
Super exciting and welcome.
Hi, everybody. I'm BB, and this is Brandy. Okay, one of the reasons why we came to you for the Reef Line activation is that there are no activations on Miami Beach. Okay, the activation that they work with is Divers Paradise, and it's out of Key Biscayne. So as a Miami Beach resident, we would have to drive to Key Biscayne, to get on a boat, to come back, to go back, to come back. And I don't think that that's pretty appropriate for a project that Miami Beach has paid for and subsidized. So we want to activate it from the Miami Beach Marina, which is the goal, and the goal is to have it monthly. This, we hope, will be the kickoff for this project, first week.
Yeah, thank you, Bibi. Thank you all. Good morning, Brandy Reddick, Executive Director of Reef Line. Thank you for having us today. What BB did was invited us to participate in the Earth Week Festival, and what we decided would be a wonderful activation is to have dive and snorkeling leaving from the Miami Beach Marina. We did a pilot program of this during Art Week, where we had 3 trips leaving daily and offered free diving and snorkeling to the site. So what this would do is basically reactivate that same kind of activation, where we would have 2 trips leaving from the Miami Beach Marina. Each trip holds 20 participants, plus our Director of Science, our Artistic Director, and myself, and we do an art and science kind of immersion about the Reef Line. So we have an art learning program and a program where our Director of Science talks about the corals that are outplanted on the Reef Line and really explains the science of the Reef Line. So it's an educational and a fun opportunity. And as part of this, we'll also bring out the big pink buoys that were designed by artist Andres Rasinger, where people can lounge. So you go out and you lounge on the buoys, and it's just a really fun experience. There are 2 charters. They last about an hour and a half to 2 hours each.
Incredible. Well, thank you for your ongoing commitment to this. Sounds super fun. I love it. Do you have a social media internal team?
Well, we're a very small team. We handle it all internally.
Yeah. I would just love to, sometimes what I lament is when we have these great opportunities and we don't get it out there enough to the residents and to actually document some of the cool things that we have going on in Miami Beach.
Exactly, Commissioner. Actually, we do. Our problem, like with Art Week, we sold out in 24 hours.
Yep.
So as soon as we announce something, it fills
gonna be
up.
fast.
Yeah, and we did. In fact, we did open house with the one hotel last Friday night, and that same thing within 48 hours would fill all of our spots.
Yeah, and if
Commissioner
this is
Magazine?
Yep, let me just finish that and then I'll kick it over to you, Commissioner Bott. If this is going to be ongoing, I think there are so many ample opportunities for more private sector sponsorships as well. The one hotel or other
Exactly,
things like
and
that.
that's
So-
just what I wanted to
Yeah.
bring up, to do this activation and kick it off so we can show how sponsorship can come in for you guys to be able to activate this every month.
Yep, Commissioner Bott, go ahead.
I was just going to add to your comment about sharing on social media. Once the City of Miami Beach is involved as a sponsor for this month's event, for the April event, we can share it with our internal marketing comms team. So that is another reason to give sponsorship. A question for BB and Brandy. This is a one-time only sponsorship from us, just for the Eco Fest Earth Week. Okay, just wanted to clarify that. So, I forgot that I'm not on this committee, so I can't move it. Forgive me.
Commissioner Dominguez, I believe you had.
I had a question. So I remember when we did the $1 million for arts and culture, the last time I checked, there was like 12,000 still left. Would that come out of there, or has that $12,000 already been depleted? Would this be?
Those dollars were from last fiscal year. That
Oh,
that
done.
fiscal year is closed.
Yeah.
But there is an identified small pool of money that is available for this. So this would not require, when this goes back to commission and they approve it, this would not require coming back for a budget amendment.
Okay, good.
I'll move it.
So we'll show this item to return to commission with a favorable recommendation to approve a one-time $5,000 sponsorship for Reef Line activation during Earth Week, Miami, taking place from April 22nd through April 26, 2026. Commissioner Suarez made the motion. Second?
I'll say.
Oh, we'll show.
Thank you,
Commissioner
ladies.
Thank
Will
you.
this be
Can I just ask a
documented,
question? Will this be on the next commission meeting in March? This month?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Will this be documented in a future book, perhaps?
Yeah. That is the next book. I will be doing some eco book. I mean, I need to find new things to talk about in Miami Beach.
Scuba Steve over here.
And so, yeah, hey,
diver.
coming up soon. Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, ladies. Amazing.
Thank you. Just for the record, all in favor?
Aye.
The item passes 3-0. Thank you.
How about we move to an old item, entering into an agreement with a private parking facility in North Beach? Just because I believe that this will fall off if it's not addressed. I know city staff is kind of taking stabs at this. Will, welcome. I love the pace that you always approach the microphone with. I love the urgency, the efficiency. Let me turn it over to you.
Let me read the item into the record. OB3, discuss the possibility of the city entering into one or more agreements with private parking facility operators in North Beach in order to increase the number of available parking spaces for North Beach residents. OB3.
Good morning. Is it morning still? Yeah. Good morning. Will McDonald, Director of Parking for the City of Miami Beach. So just want to jump right into the updates here because obviously we are looking forward to thinking about what will occur when the 72nd project gets off the ground. We will lose 320 plus prime parking spaces within that area. So the first and foremost, I want to jump right into. Oh,
right?
I'm sorry, sir?
Temporarily?
Temporarily, correct. Once it's built, 2 to 3 years, because I have absolute faith in the construction projects here in Miami Beach. 2 years. But we know that, 2 years is an eternity for the local businesses, for the residents that want to enjoy the area. And so we want to make sure that we have a plan in place that will address that. So first and foremost, something that is really focused more on quality than it is on quantity. We have begun discussions with the band shell and the valet company that is in partnership with the city, for example, on Lincoln Road. And we feel that we can be very aggressive that by the end of April, we will be able to roll out a valet program for the band shell to start getting a better idea of what that demand looks like during special events. So we can possibly one, start creating the demand if it doesn't exist, and two, start offering an alternative to individuals that don't want to continually circle.
And where will those cars be parked if they participate in the valet?
$1 million question, sir. So we're looking at several areas. One of the areas that comes directly to mind would be initially the library lot, which is approximately 4 blocks north of the bandshell area. There are a few reasons why this lot came to light. One, because of the lighting that is required in that lot, and I'm going to speak very ignorantly of this topic. I believe it's because of turtle season. That lot can't be lit very well. I didn't mean to touch anything. That lot can't be lit very well, and so there's a lot of times because it is tucked behind several buildings, the construction that was taking place there on Ocean Court. It wasn't the most utilized, so it wasn't a very attractive lot. So that was the first place that we were looking at.
I get, you know what, don't need a full analysis, but you hit on what's important there at the end. I just want to be sure that we're not essentially using lots that are fully utilized, right? I don't want to take away from resident A at the expense of resident B.
Correct. That's our big focus point. And then there's even an alternative. So for example, this kind of leads me right into the next paragraph, the Deauville Garage. So the Deauville Garage, we have an agreement with them to utilize 150 parking spaces. They have until June to make that garage ready for parking. I don't know the date off the top of my head. I believe it's June 18th, June 21st in that area. However, there are several hundred other spaces in that garage. So in the meantime, and until that construction gets off the ground for the project that is going to go into that space, I feel very comfortable saying that we can come to an understanding on how to better utilize the additional parking spaces in that area. So we could come up with a program that says, hey, you can choose to park north, choose to park south, and on a really great night, we could choose, hey, we're going to valet your car in the south, and then you'll have a short, 4-block walk to the south where you can bypass some of the great restaurants in the area. You can choose to eat dinner before or after. So we feel we can do some really interesting things for
And let
both
me
valet and
just
self.
ask this now that you bring it up. The Deauville, actually, construction won't begin on that site, I think, for several years. I guess there's not really anybody in the room to confirm it because private development, but just from the time frame that I remember from when it was approved, I'm not advocating for this. I'm just posing it out there in the universe for food for thought, and it just came up when you said Deauville. Given that perhaps in a perfect world, we have the 72nd Street garage being built. We're losing those spots. Perhaps it comes online maybe as the Deauville is starting. Has there ever been any consideration about using the Deauville site, the future Deauville site, for parking right now? And trust me, nothing pains me more than thinking about any type of parking along the water. It's not, my MO. I don't like covered land plays, but obviously a few parking spots isn't going to prevent the developer from moving forward there. It's really just a timing issue. Would something like that ever work?
Commissioner, good morning. This is David Gomez from Capital Improvements. We are looking at the possibility of increasing the number of spaces that the Deauville will provide to make up for the loss of spaces in 72nd Street during construction.
But that would be at the garage, right?
At the garage, yes.
I know we have, at the behest of Commissioner Suarez, that they need to keep the Deauville lot in park-like conditions, but as I recall, it's not as if the public can access that, right, for liability issues. Have we ever thought about using that as like an overflow parking space?
We have, and that's one of the things that we're looking at, not only there, but also in other potential sites. There are some planning requirements that we need to figure out how to meet those requirements in order to do that, but we are looking into that.
Okay.
So you actually walked me into the very next paragraph, Commissioner. So the temporary west lots, obviously, we've been speaking with the other departments within the city, because what we want to do is say, hey, if we go ahead and deploy an asset or create an asset that's a temporary parking lot, first and foremost, we do not want to contribute to the flooding. So we want to look at permeable surfaces that are both attractive, but can also be changed back into their natural state.
And here's what scares me about that, right? I hate the thought of parking on a waterfront lot like the Deauville, but I know that truly will be temporary because it's just while they're designing those. I know how our city works, and if all of a sudden we could do it for a week, make temporary parking on the west lots, and the second we could have this beautiful park planned and in place, I do not want those becoming forever parking lots. And it always starts out as temporary. And I would be incredibly pessimistic that we do those temporarily and then it becomes a forever type thing.
Well, and regardless of where that plot of land is, I mean, obviously parking is open up to any plot of land, but we would ensure that, one, completely permeable surface, there's a lot
I know you guys, but from a legislative perspective, as soon as we open it up to parking, and then people get used to parking there, and then we could have the most beautiful, elegant project that, after 30 years, we say, here's the direction for the west lots. And we'll have 10 neighbors call and say, oh my gosh, I parked there. And we'll say, okay, you know what, they'll just be parking lots forever. And those sites deserve to be so much more than parking.
Commissioner Magazine?
Yes.
Those lots, and Will can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that the west lots are predominantly used to capacity on the weekends. They are not overly used during the week and certainly not during the day. So, and there is an item traveling legislatively to discuss specifically turning the entirety of the west lots into a planned park, including reconfiguring cut-through streets and looking at the utilitarian parts of the lots and how those can be better placed, but thinking of this comprehensively and holistically. And not to get rid of the parking necessarily, but to think about how to use it and where to put it so that it's better for everybody. So I don't think with this commission that we collectively will let that become a permanent situation. And I do have a question for Will. I don't know if you're going to get to it, but the 72nd Street high-rise that built over capacity parking, as well as the other high-rises that are coming online, but 72 Park is obviously built and open. So can you talk about conversations that you've had with them?
Yes, I can, Commissioner. So with any, obviously, I'll say this, with any private operator, to ensure that we can get Miami Beach rates, because that's obviously going to be our focus, because whereas we are $1 an hour in the North Beach, for example, the 72 Park Garage sits at $4 an hour. It is open to the public as of right now, but obviously those rates are a little bit, I'll just say, north of what our visitors and residents are accustomed to. What we would do is essentially look at what we could, what type of deal we could put in place and where we can get the most bang for our buck. So when we talk about the West lots, private operators, we'll look at saying, hey, what would it cost us to do X? How many parking spaces do we get out of it? So I really want to do a cost-benefit analysis on the best way that we can provide close and efficient parking services for the individuals visiting at North Beach. And they will absolutely be part of the conversation.
How many parking spaces are in the Deauville parking garage?
Off the top of my head, Commissioner, I believe there's about 450. So it might be slightly less, it might be right at 400, but we have about 150 of them. The unfortunate aspect, probably about additional 50 of those 400 are what we call valet spaces. So they're meant to be double parked, which obviously has been in our mind.
So if there's over 400 spaces and the Deauville project isn't going to be, I mean, there isn't going to be a shovel in the ground for a couple of years, maybe we can go to the developer and ask him if we could just use the whole garage until it's built.
So that's actually the plan, Commissioner, when I talk about extra spaces. And it kind of puts me right into the very...
Because no one's really going to walk to that garage. I mean, it's...
So that actually puts me into that very last section. So when I think about parking and what that would look like in the North Beach area during the construction of the 72nd Street project, there's going to be no silver bullet that gets a win. However, if we can look at assets in the underutilized west lots that already exist, and we're not even talking about temporary lots, just using what's up in that area, we look at valet, we look at possible agreements with private garages that are in the area that are underutilized, and we look at what we have at Deauville, a transportation loop concept, sort of what we already have in place, but something much tighter and focused more on peak times. So something that travels between, say, 85th and 67th, strictly from Harding to Collins, I think could be a phenomenal asset because it would reduce traffic in the core. Because if somebody says, hey, not a problem, I'm coming from the south, I'm going to park in the Deauville, hop on a transportation concept, and it truly gets back to what we really want to do here is focus on micromobility and public transportation and reduce some of this traffic congestion. So I think we're going to be looking at this as a whole concept for the area. Cool. Because you're right, that walk from 67th to 72nd, we can say it's only 5 blocks, but...
Will, do you live in our city?
I do, sir.
I can tell. No, I can, right? Our employees that live here pick up on these little nuances that are lost when you just drive to City Hall and then drive out of our city. I don't want to get off topic. I think you've been doing a fabulous job. You've been here, what, a year? Not even?
Not even, sir.
Not even?
Still 10 months.
How you view things comprehensively, your energy, but your understanding of the city, because you're not just living it 9 to 5. You're living and breathing it all day, every day. So thank you for your commitment. It's these little nuances that I think really make or break decisions when our staff puts forth proposals, understanding those little nuances that you only get not from sitting in the confines of City Hall, but when you're out on the weekends, walking with your family or riding a bike, it's a community you live and breathe in, and I can tell. So thank you. Where do we go with this, Mr. CFO?
Then we have a question for the committee. I think It does sound like that some of these issues will be linked to 72nd Street, which, be construction in a couple of years, and I think staff already knows to bring back the appropriate agreements if there are any, but this could return to commission to direct the administration to negotiate any additional parking agreements as deemed necessary and bring back, to the commission when appropriate.
This is Commissioner Bott's item, correct?
This is Commissioner Bott's item.
Commissioner Bott, if you're still listening, do you have any preference on how this proceeds?
I'm sorry, Jason, what was your recap going to be?
Well, I think the item could be just heard and closed, because as far as I'm aware, the administration is aware that it would need to bring back, to continue to explore alternate parking locations when the 72nd Street lot is closed for that building to be constructed, and I think that plan is well in the works. But if the committee wanted to direct the administration to do that, we can put that in the form of resolution, but Will, I guess, is really for Will and for CIP. I believe these things are already these things are already being handled, correct?
Correct. However, obviously, I think with any understanding or any agreement with the Deauville parking garage would have to come back through the committee, most likely anyway.
Yeah, all these agreements would have to come back, but I think the administration is well aware that there's the need here, is working towards that, and would bring them back when appropriate. But if the committee wanted to formalize that as a motion to go back as a resolution, they can do so. But I think my point is, I think that those things are already being handled.
Let's do that.
Okay.
So I'd like to ask Will a couple of questions before we make a decision. Will, how close are you to being able to come back to us with finalized plans? I'm reluctant to close this until we have all these answers sorted out, and I don't think you need further direction from us at this point from the commission, because you're still working through some of the nitty-gritty. So if we just bring it back in a month or 2 months, is that enough time for you to have it all buttoned up?
If possible, I'd request 90 days. One, just because I know the next 30 days I'm going to be living on South Beach.
Right.
But outside of that, the temporary lots, I think that is going to be the highest hurdle, because that would require a change in any one of our, under our planning department, as far as what a temporary lot is required, because right now, under the code, and I don't want to misspeak, but it essentially almost requires a complete parking lot.
Just Commissioner Magazine, I don't think I'd be in favor of a parking lot on the beach. I understand there's going to be a lot of parking concerns, but I think the lowest hanging fruit would be at the Deauville garage, because, we'll get so many calls.
It's a bad look.
And if I might jump in, Will, can we get from the band shell an analysis, or do you already have it, of how many spots they need at night? Because I've got to believe that for the next few years at least, the 72nd Street complex is not, there's no shovel in ground, so that's still available. The Deauville garage is coming online in June at the latest per their DA. And we have the parking lot north of the library, and we do have parking in the west lots currently. So between all of that, I think we already have very low-hanging fruit. It's a question more of coordinating the shuttles. And then the second phase of this would be, as the 72nd Street garage goes through its 72nd Street Community Complex goes through its construction process, and the first thing that happens is it'll be torn up. That's when we're going to need to talk about, are we putting additional lots on the west lots, or can we work out an amenable deal with 72nd Street or 72 Park for people trying to utilize the area's retail. So it's almost as if we've got two different time horizons. One is using the things that are immediate and really understanding what the need is from the band shell, versus what we're going to need when the construction starts at 72nd Street. And David, if you're still there, what is that time horizon? I mean, it's this sort of boogeyman lurking out in the future, but nobody seems to know exactly when that's going to happen.
Good morning, Commissioner. David here. The 72nd Street project is currently at 60% completion on the construction documents. We'll be moving towards 90% and should be bringing a GMP to the commission before the end of the year.
Okay, so that gives us plenty of time to plan for what we need in its entirety. It gives us the full rest of the year. So, Will, why don't you come back to this committee in May or June? The Deauville garage will be completed and we'll have a better handle, and let's revisit where we are and go from there. That would be my recommendation.
So if the committee's okay, we can show the item heard and return with an update when appropriate.
Sure.
Well, I'd like to specify no later than June so that we don't lose sight of this.
Okay, we'll show the item heard and return with an update by June 2026.
Sounds good to me.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all. David, you know what? Maybe if we could keep you up here. OB1. I don't want this to fall off. It's the 40 Pine Tree and 46th Street traffic project. We've done so much on this over the years. I have no idea where to go with this, right? We've had meetings with the county. We've had meetings with FDOT. There's a lot of complications here. Update us where we left off, kind of where we're at. I know we had county commissioners that were involved. Where are things? I don't want this to just be one of those items that falls into purgatory, but even if we went forward with the project as proposed, which there was a tremendous amount of neighborhood pushback on that form, it's several $1 million, right? I want to be honest, I don't see us having several $1 million for a traffic calming project in that area. Where are we at? What can we do? Can we deliver a solution that is more well-received by the residents and a more cost-efficient manner that also doesn't get thwarted by, is it the county or FDOT that was presenting?
The county.
The county.
Let me call the item. OB1, discuss next steps in funding for Pine Tree Drive and 46th Street Traffic Circle Project, OB1.
David Gomez, Director of Capital Improvements. Good morning again. As a reminder, Commissioner, we had a meeting approximately a year ago. It was a hybrid meeting here in Chambers. Total attendance from residents of approximately 53, 10 of which I think were in person. We had representatives from the county, including the County Commissioner's Office, as well as MDTPW, as well as some of our commissioners were present. You are correct. The project as designed today includes a proposal for dual traffic circles at 46th and 47th Street. It is dual traffic circles because of the spacing and the lighting and street lights that needed to be adjusted to accommodate that. Because it was an improvement to the road system, it qualified for road impact fees from the county. So they were able to allocate approximately just over $3.2 million.
And we'd have to come up with the other half, right?
We had to come up with approximately 3.1. We are currently funded out of the city budget up to 600,000. We have a request for the balance. We had a request for 26. It was programmed for 27. It is not funded yet. As you stated, there was a lot of hesitation from the residents regarding the traffic circles. They made numerous suggestions as to how we could better approach the issue, including speed tables. The county is adamantly against speed tables out of a concern that it will actually create more accidents than reduce them. So they, at that meeting, proposed going back to their office to look at a potential realignment of the road, meaning changing the curve alignment. It would impact parking on the roadway, so we would lose a lot of on-street parking. And they are also looking at the potential of including chicanes within the roadway. We have not received anything back from the county. As of a request for an update earlier this week, they still hadn't come back to us with a proposed solution. As a reminder, this is a county asset. It is not a city asset. They are responsible for maintenance and everything on this roadway. This began as a joint partnership agreement with the county so that we can address some concerns the residents had about safety.
So there was a lot of concerns about not having the project in its iteration. There was a big push, I think rightfully so, with some of the traffic accidents in that area to have some sort of traffic mitigation. So I don't want this just to languish. It already has for a year. I can't imagine myself, and I don't want to put words in my colleagues' mouths, but after seeing that meeting, I don't foresee us getting $2.5 million anytime soon for this. I can't imagine us just steamrolling all of those residents that had those concerns. So if you could re-engage with the county about how we can thread a better needle there, and where they stand, I don't want this just to languish in purgatory.
Absolutely, happy to do so.
Commissioner.
And you mentioned that this was addressing resident concerns. How did it turn from addressing what they needed to them being so opposed to it?
When the community approached the city about the concern of safety, I believe it was the Transportation Department that started looking into what could be done. The recommendation from the Transportation Department as well as our consultant and echoed by Miami-Dade County is that the correct solution there is a traffic circle. It is the most effective solution for that condition. Are there other things that could be done that would, to a lesser degree, address the safety concerns? Yes, that's what they're looking at. The other thing to keep in mind is that the road impact fees from the county available or allocated for this project would most likely go away if we do anything other than the traffic circles, because it's no longer a transit improvement. Now it is just
So is this needed? Like, can
there
this be
is-
closed, and then if other idea comes out, they can bring something different forward?
There's definitely a need to address the safety concern. The county has acknowledged that there is a safety issue.
I think there were cars that went into people's front yards, right?
Yeah, correct. And that I believe there's one particular utility pole that is of concern. The question is what shape or what form that safety mitigation takes place.
And given it's a county-owned asset, would we, I know what the traffic engineer said, if we would collectively say, we know better, would we be able to place the temporary speed tables like we have in the south of Fifth area on that road?
I don't know that they would approve it because of the type of roadway and the traffic volumes in that segment. That's been their position.
Jose?
Good afternoon, good morning, Mr. Chair. What Director Gomez stated is correct. The traffic circle would be the optimal, safest solution for the safety concerns, to address the safety concerns. Are there other solutions? There may be, but I think, the county has dug their heels and said the circle is the best solution.
Now, what if we would do things such as, what is the professional word that you use that starts with a C? The chicanes?
Chicanes.
What if we would essentially put aesthetic, like the planters that we have on different areas of Pine Tree and the Gorse, that essentially narrow the roads, that prevent speeds from reaching such a high speed? If there were temporary aesthetic planters that essentially narrowed the road, would something like that be within our purview?
I think that's actually what they're looking at, and the Transportation Department did prepare a traffic study to give the county more data and more information so that they can look at that more cohesively.
Yeah, let's, if we can, follow up on this, because like I said, we had a tremendous amount of interest in this. And Commissioner Dominguez, what it was is the residents that were affected by this, like quite literally had cars coming into their yards, pushed for something, and then when the solution was proposed by the county, other residents that were in that general area that weren't directly affected, but that's their neighborhood, they go, no, this is silly. So there's a clear need for something, but the solution that was proposed just wasn't it. But I don't want that to mean that we deliver nothing. So let's, re-engage, really work with the county to find something that we can deliver at a more accommodative cost that isn't years away in the budget and is something that is more digestible to the residents.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yep.
Residents send pictures all the time of cars crashing in front of their house.
Yeah, we can't just let this hang, for another year or so. While we wait for the county, let's be proactive in really engaging them.
So how are we leaving this item?
Let's,
I can show it.
I don't want it to fall off, so can we keep it here?
Now that it's been heard, my understanding of the interpretation of that resolution we're looking at should be that they would get another 6 months. So since it was heard, it would live on. So if this is another item heard and to return with an update when appropriate, it can be recorded that way.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I'll just recognize in the audience, Christine, it's not often we get such movers and shakers just observing down here. You just here to check out the meeting, or is there an item specifically? Is this the living wage? Okay.
No, I know, I'm sorry, Christina Baguer, Chief of Staff. I know that you had some questions on FIFA, and I thought you might bring it up, so I wanted to be ready if you did.
I wasn't going to, but that's why I'm glad I just saw you languishing out there in the audience. And why don't you kick it off? I guess it's in response to, we got an email from Tourism and Culture, or
An LTC from the manager.
Last evening saying, here's our events that are programmed thus far with FIFA. And they were a concert with talent to be named in the beginning of June to kick off the World Cup in Loomis Park, and then 2 viewing parties at the North Beach Bandshell. One of them being for the 3rd place game, which is largely an exhibition game without impact. That is very underwhelming to me, very underwhelming. When we went through and we delivered significant amount of money to FIFA, $1.25 million, if I believe. But even more than that, regardless of whether we paid 0, we paid $10 million. I care about our residents' experiences. I care about the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that will be here. What we are doing to have an active, festive atmosphere for them. And if the only thing that we have is a concert to kick things off, and then two games that are viewed at the North Beach Bandshell that are the 3rd place game, and the next day, the final, right? That's 5 weeks where we have nothing. Explain to me where we're at, what is still possible. I want Miami Beach to be the coolest place in the world for people to visit, for our residents to have this once-in-a-lifetime experience, right? This is the biggest event that's ever come to Miami. So I was personally underwhelmed by essentially what we're going to get. Now, I am fine not needing FIFA to hold our hand and put on these events for us, right? We could have public viewing parties for every single game on Loomis Park or on Lincoln Road. But as I understand, because we entered into this contract, because we paid them money, our hands are kind of tied between what we're able to do unilaterally. Kick it over to you.
Okay, there's a lot there. I'll start with the Miami Beach has a FIFA working group, which the manager has recently made me be the point person for, with City Miami Beach FIFA working group and the host committee. With that, from tourism, we have police, fire, parks, and communication are all part of that group. Some of the things that we're talking about is what else can we do? We know that now we don't need approval for our restaurants on Lincoln Road or Ocean Drive or anywhere for that matter that is able to play the game inside to be able to also put screens
Well, we never
outside.
needed that, right?
The question was, can they do it outside? And that was a question you had, and I'm not sure if anybody had answered it to you, and the answer is yes, you can extend it to outside. I mean, obviously, you have to go to the city to get that permitted, but you can do it. So that has opportunities now.
And the only reason that was ever in question is because that was part of like the blackout zone determined by FIFA. That wouldn't just apply if there's some restaurant on Alton Road or let's say anywhere else in the country. It's not as if FIFA has control over if they can play a game outside. It's just because that was specifically in this blackout zone that was determined between us and FIFA.
Well, FIFA has a role in outside of restaurants. So if you want to do something in a park, if you want to do something in a parking lot, I know that was a question that you had
Anywhere in
earlier.
the world.
Anywhere in the world, not just because they have a clean zone, is what they call it for us. So that was answered. Now, I think that you had a question on parking lots. Can we put something in a parking lot? Can we do something in the park? We can, we just have to buy a license for it. We don't have to go, we have to go through FIFA. They have a portal, and I spoke to the CEO of the host committee this morning, and she sent me that portal. I have staff right now going in and just kind of pretending that we want to do a license so we can start figuring out what does it cost? What will it cost us to have
Any
all
back
these-
of the envelope estimates?
No, and FIFA couldn't give, and the host committee couldn't give it to me either. I mean, I told them to text me, which they haven't.
Yeah.
As soon as I have it, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
That could be anywhere, and that can be as often as we'd like. So that's an opportunity for us and for others to be able to engage in more party. Then
So
we
if
can-
I just lived in some random suburban town in Pennsylvania, we'll use my hometown, Montgomery County, right? And I wanted to play a FIFA game at the municipal park there, I would have to go through FIFA and buy a license?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yep.
Yes, you do. Everybody, and that was confirmed to me this morning on my call. I can tell you that we potentially will have a third watch party, not paid by us, but through the host committee, that's going to be attached to the concert. So as soon as they get the talent for the concert,
Yeah.
they're going to add a third watch party in South Beach.
And the thought is Bayfront Park will essentially be showing all the games?
I don't know that it's all of them. It's another thing that I asked the host committee. I want to understand what the county and what City of Miami
Yeah.
are getting for their money and what their sponsorship is. So she actually just sent that to me before I came downstairs. So I'm going to take a deep dive into that to see what they have. I don't know that it's all of them, but I know it's a lot more than us.
Yeah. So essentially, if I'm looking at this, if we'd be able to buy the rights to show a game at the North Beach Band Shell, I mean, did we pay $1 million and a quarter for a concert, and we don't even know what the? And I'm not upset at us. I'm a bit upset with how this kind of came down from FIFA and our Miami working group. Except when they came to ask for money, I haven't seen any engagement from the group that came here and were our best friends when the $1.5 million contract were on the line, right? Have we had another event in Miami Beach? Have we had them come and say, even though he's 70 years old, here's Ronaldo juggling a soccer ball for the kickoff or things like that? No, we'll get an email saying, hey, we're having this cool event at the Pres Art Museum, or come meet the players over here. We've had nothing in Miami Beach.
Did Miami pay?
More, right? More, but,
Miami.
$1.25 million of taxpayer money should get us something more than a concert that, let's be honest, they probably would have had in Miami Beach anyway. It doesn't just benefit us. Being able to have Miami Beach as a backdrop benefits them. We were kind of led on that we could have this huge 6-week-long media setup in Flamingo Park and Loomis Park. Not Flamingo Park and Loomis Park, right? So how it was presented was we were going to be World Cup headquarters, and every media station was going to be here broadcasting. And just like we had the setup for the Super Bowl, where all the broadcast was down at Loomis Park, that's how was, at least how I interpreted it. Perhaps that was my fault. But to think that we're only going to have 3 games that are viewed at the North Beach Band Shell as our World Cup show or platform, that's underwhelming to me, and let's do everything that we can to really prepare for this. Any idea how long those licenses would take to obtain?
I don't know the time frame, but they did tell me that we are in perfect timing to receive them. So if
Okay.
you're not behind the 8 ball on that. I can tell you, I concur with you on Media Row. I did, and many of us we were led to believe that we would have Media Row, but that is not dead. That is something we're still working on. So there's still the potential of having the media there. Their base camp is Dallas, and that's FIFA, but we still have the potential of having it there, and we're exploring that with media currently.
And I get that we have limited leverage over FIFA, right? But as I understand it, there's local event producers that are kind of acting on behalf of FIFA in the Miami area. Is that how it is? Right? There's like a FIFA Miami committee, and there's a lot of event producers. I mean, it's not like Gianni came here and asked us for money. There were people that go, hey, we're familiar with you. We used to, you know, we put on other events in Miami Beach, and here we are, we're working for FIFA, right? Lizette, you're looking at me puzzled. There's not like a FIFA Miami event committee that works on behalf of FIFA for Miami?
There's the host committee.
Right.
That is who we work with directly. They have contracted a local producer who does a lot of events here, but we have not heard from any other of the
And I guess
producers.
that's
So
who
all
I'm
through the
referring
host
to,
committee.
the local producer. So they come and, you know, they ask us for things for the boat show and other events. I know I'm going to be very skeptical when anybody involved in that whole circle comes here and asks for future events. Like, you came here, asked us for $1 million, $1.5 million, and we got 2 games at the band shell?
Commissioner, and I did, my conversation this morning, I did let the CEO know that you had those, concerns, and you had just recently sent an email out. And they offered to come in or have a call with you and anyone else who wants to.
Please,
to
yeah.
tell you about their efforts. And we are, as the committee now, that the committee had been working. I just became the point person, and our media role situation just came to light. We are working hard to make it more than just the 2 parties, the potential third party.
Yeah.
So we're
Did
not
I
done
have
here.
misguided expectations or understanding of what we were possibly going to get, or are we collectively underwhelmed here?
I think that what we're getting is what was in the agreement, but I think we thought, yes, that it was different. But the opportunities are not lost to us. We do have the opportunity to have more, and we're working on that.
Let's set up a call with that team that you mentioned would have a call. I'll
Yes.
be on that with you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's hear, I guess there's nothing to close out because that wasn't an item, Mr. CFO.
Correct.
How about NB4, discuss feasibility of establishing condo special assessment program?
MB4, discussion regarding the feasibility of establishing a condominium special assessment assistance program for financially vulnerable residents, MB4.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let's see what staff has to say. You guys came up and see what you've presented.
Hi, good afternoon. Alba Terre, Office of Housing and Community Services. We've closely looked into the county's special assessment program, and looking into it, it's something that we can absorb as part of our community services functions. Specifically, with our existing structure and our existing staffing levels, this could be something that we could take on if we were to look at a project for the city. While the Miami-Dade Housing and Community Development Condo Special Assessment Program is currently paused, it is anticipating an allocation of approximately $15 million within, and it's supposed to be opening within this month. The county program provides up to $50,000 to property owners earning up to 140% area median income as defined by HUD, which is about $122,000 for a 1-person household. The county's program is structured at a 0% interest loan for 40 years. We are looking into a preliminary concept of a city pilot program modeled under the county's framework. It would need to potentially be funded under general funds, and we could look at potentially looking at SHIP dollars to augment the allocation and to supplement the allocation. Under the proposed structure, assistance would be provided at a 0% interest loan with monthly repayment required. For a lower income household, a $50 minimum payment.
Funded by the county.
Well, for us, if we were to look into doing that project, what we would be looking at doing is a similar structure, much like the counties, where we would be looking at the person's AMI. So that's something that we would need to look into. Where would it be that we would like to focus our AMI structure? Currently, the county goes up to 140% AMI, whereas with us, if we're looking at doing general dollars, we could look at expanding that AMI. Realistically speaking, if we are to look at federal dollars such as SHIP, we would be limited to 80% AMI. So everything, the program in and of itself would need to be structured based on the AMI that we are looking to focus on.
So, Commissioner, are you thinking?
So,
yeah.
Look, the county had an amazing program, and it's paused. It's apparently coming back on, but there's a lot of caveats to who gets funded, how it gets funded. at the county, very strict guidelines. I'm not looking to supplement the county as much as, well, this is why it's at committee. I want to hear from my colleagues, how would you, there's two parts. What would be a qualification, and how would it be funded? And I have some ideas, and I would love and value your input. So for example, the county uses an AMI based methodology for qualifications. We don't have to necessarily do that if we're not using money from federal dollars. I mean, we can do it based on how long you've been a resident for in Miami Beach. I think it should be tied to some sort of basic criteria of income, homesteaded. I think the idea is we want to keep people who live in Miami Beach from being forced out. Okay, and there's a large portion of that who don't make enough to qualify for under an AMI program or guidelines, but don't have the money to still pay for their special assessments, and they're going to have to move. So I'd like to hear what your input is, and on the how we're going to fund this. That's up to debate. I think every year we will always have a developer project that comes through, and there's always a negotiation through a development agreement. This is another fund that we can ask for and dedicate dollars to. So, for example, if there's going to be a new development project that's ultra luxury, 3,000 plus square foot units going for $5,000 a square foot, we can say, look, you're going to be making it harder for people to live in Miami Beach because just the average cost for living here is going to go up. Put aside some funds for this condo relief fund for condo owners to possibly, be able to save themselves from being priced out of the market through a lot of these fees that happen. So I'd like to hear what my colleagues have to say on the committee.
Commissioner.
Thank you. I think the AMI formula is something that may be standard. I know it was used for Collins Park, but there could be other creative ways to look at it. I remember when the Deauville Development Project came in, one of the things that I had proposed was to use part of the payout to affect multifamily buildings in the North Beach area. So when looking at criteria, maybe one of the ideas can be older buildings, or if they're historic. And yes, being a resident for a long time is also something that's interesting. But what worries me is that so many buildings are getting, I'm sure everyone up here has had the same experience of condo boards coming to you saying, my building's getting bought out. What do I do? How do I fight this back? How do I keep my building? So it's very creative. I support it. I really like it. And the thought is, what parameters do we give it so that we don't have people leaving the beach because their buildings are getting scooped up and built by other projects?
Yeah, you hit it on the head, Commissioner. And that's, I think where I'm getting at is we have people who live in Miami Beach who don't necessarily qualify under these AMI guidelines, but they've been here for decades. They're getting priced out. And we want to offer some help. And this is a loan. It's a zero interest loan. It's not, we're not giving the money away. We're helping them stay. And I think, well, Jason, what would be, is there needed like a brainstorming session with staff to come back and give us a set of suggested guidelines for this, or do we need to have perhaps a sunshine meeting or a separate meeting to discuss alternatives for the criteria?
Well, I think if you're looking at the criteria of which residents would have access to this financially vulnerable resident condo special assessment fund, I think the staff has presented some, but if the committee has interest in, and now that they've kind of heard some of it, you can give feedback to them and they can come back with a different set of recommended criteria. If the AMI approach, which is very commonly used in a lot of these financially vulnerable kind of situations, is not what the committee is interested in, but wants to give them some guidance to the staff, and staff can come back at a later meeting with a different set of criteria.
I think a non-starter would be will exclude non-homesteaded properties, right? So like if it's just a investment income property, I don't think you should qualify. So I think that's a fair point, right?
Can I ask, at the county, is this given out to individuals or buildings?
Individuals.
Individuals.
Another thing to look at is perhaps how long you've been here. Maybe there is like if you just got here last year, I don't think you should necessarily qualify. One thing to look at is, when did the Surfside tragedy happen? In 2000?
June of 2021.
21? So that's when the laws started to change at an accelerated rate, right? And then that's when now there's all these burdens. So, perhaps we say if you've had your condo for, longer than 2020 or 2021, so 5 years minimum, you have been a homesteaded property in Miami Beach. I think that's a good criteria. Guys, what do you think?
Yeah, and what about something special for seniors?
That's another good point.
Is that legal, Rick?
Oh, yeah.
If the city is setting up a program like this, I believe that we could take age into account. We'll look into that more closely as the criteria is defined, but I think that if we're putting aside our own funds, that we should be able to do that.
Let's look into that. I think that's a good point.
If I could add, I think in hearing the revenue source, because obviously this will be an update for the memo too, which is not necessarily using general fund money, which obviously is short, but to use what I'm making some notes on is to accumulate developer contributions specifically. So it would kind of be setting up and since this is a loan, this would be more of a revolving trust fund. I've accessed those in prior governments at the state level, where it kind of self-feeds itself as the payments come back in. So as the balance will get bigger, and as the payments come back in, you could re-loan things out. So it would be more of a revolving trust fund, effectively.
But it's a loan at zero interest. It's not a handout.
Correct. That's what I'm hearing from the sponsor.
Could CRA money that's earmarked for affordable housing be used for these loans?
Marcela Rubio, Assistant Director. We talked to the CRA staff that's liaisoning the committee, and CRA funds cannot be used to maintain property owners. It's to incentivize new property owners. So any construction of new housing or new units coming online.
And I believe that we have Commissioner Mateo Salinas on here. Let's hear from her, and then I'll give my thoughts.
Commissioner, please unmute yourself.
Hi, everybody. So I just want to go back to the AMI percentages, and this is a question for Dr. Terry. Alba, could you give us a breakdown of what income levels are covered by AMI? Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I know that there's certain AMI percentages that would reflect folks that make over $100,000 a year, which is the Collins Park affordable housing project. It wasn't affordable housing, it was workforce, because those AMI rates are higher. So, AMI is actually a good way to see who would qualify for this program, because it's a percentage and it goes up rather high, and it can encompass people who are kind of middle income and not just people who are very, very poor, which it can also encompass those depending on the percentage. So Alba, could you talk a little bit about income levels and with AMI and explain a little bit about how that works?
Sure. So the AMI is considered per family size. So if we're looking at 140% AMI, which is the county's current special assessment program, as well as the workforce housing for Collins Park, you're looking at about $121,520 for a household of one. That's at 140. If we're looking at supplementing this program with SHIP dollars, we could look at it's restrictive to, let's say, 80% AMI, we're looking at $69,400. If we would like to go a little bit higher, let's say we want to set the percentage rate at 200% AMI, then you're looking at about $174,400 for a household of one.
Alba, how much is the county contributing? What is the maximum amount you can get?
$50,000.
Let's just run some numbers here, right? This is a huge issue in our city, a huge issue. In fact, as of last Friday, my building will be impacted by it, right? We could be looking at special assessments up to $80,000. I have two parents that live in my building that are on a fixed income, and the amount of, uncertainty and colorful conversations we had just within my household were numerous. There's probably very few issues that our residents are facing that are more integral than this and more impactful. It just comes down to a money thing, right? Like, where are we going to get it? And if it is a developer fund, then we have to say, okay, what is more important, or what is more just for the greater collective good? Is it for something like this, or is it for the tens or hundreds of millions of dollars of infrastructure needs that benefit the entire community, right? If we just run some simple back of the envelope math here, I don't know, finger in the air, 87,000 full-time residents, even if only 5,000 were impacted, right? Or 5,000 took advantage of this, which is, I think, a very lowball estimate. You'd have 300 just in my building alone, right? At $20,000, which is just a fraction of the county, it's $100 million, right? And we can't talk about, we can't be all things to all people. If we're going to try and help affordability by keeping our taxes low, where does this money come from? And if this initiative of the state to do away from homesteaded taxes passes, things like this are beyond even like a pipeline dream, right? It will quite literally just be your core bread and butter public safety, because there's also initiatives, bills in the House and legislature that you actually can't reduce public safety because, funding beyond where they were at a certain extent. So there will be very little dollars to go around for these nice, I hate to call it nice to have because they're going to be needed by residents, but when we talk about, what's funded out of a city government, like I love the idea. I would allocate as much money, if money was fungible to this, as possible. I'm personally impacted by it. It just comes, what are our collective needs and where does this fall in that pecking order? I don't have a good answer for that. I'm just posing that out there into, the universe.
Yeah, so, I think you raised some good points, Commissioner. I think my idea would be to set up a program, have a bank account, so to speak, and whenever the opportunity presents itself to fund that, that's when we would move forward with it. I don't, sure, we can discuss, like, look, if we have extra money from this developer agreement, or we come across a franchise fee or whatever, it could be set aside for infrastructure. I'm always going to advocate for infrastructure, projects to be built, but I think let's start somewhere. Let's let the conversation continue, and when the opportunity presents itself, we can decide to either fund it or not fund it, because you know, I can tell you 2/3 of all of Miami Beach live in condos, right? And most of them are aging. And many people come to me and say, look, I can't afford this $80,000 assessment. You know, they may be making $150,000 a year, but they don't qualify for the, you know, under the 140% AMI. And they would rather just sell and leave. So, yeah, look, tough decisions. I think we'll know in a month or two what the state does as far as property taxes. But I think we have enough, I think, a good enough an idea here to move this forward and just start seeing this sort of bake, if you will. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, Jason, are there areas, if these are loans, right, that are paid back, what is the county, what is the payback period?
40 years.
40?
40 years.
We don't have to do that, though.
Yeah.
You know, we can set up our own guidelines, right? I mean, we can make it 10 years, you know,
Correct.
and
And we would propose, if we were looking at something like that, a shorter period of time so that we can start recycling the funds and be able to assist more people with the dollars that we are receiving. Another thing that maybe we could try to look at is with our current SHIP dollars, we could potentially, even though it's a more restrictive AMI, we can start setting up the parameters for the program because these are dollars that federally we have today or statewide we have today.
how much do we get?
We get different allocations every year, so about $300,000 give and take, but this also funds the first-time home buyers program. This funds rehabilitations. But we can look at seeing a pot of money and starting to structure this program by starting to amend our LHAP so we can start creating the framework. So if we do get additional dollars in the future that are general funds, then we already have sort of the program framework outlined.
And that's where this becomes difficult, right? It's like, we could do these things that feel good. Oh, here's $300,000, right? At $50,000, that's 6 homeowners. And we get to say, well, we allocated money to help struggling home. So to have something that is truly impactful on kind of an across-the-board scale, even if it is limited to seniors and, you know, severely low-income people, we're talking in the millions and millions or tens of millions of dollars to be impactful. And Noble, I don't know where we find it. I have no issues moving forward with putting parameters in place, and then we have discussions about where it falls in the pecking order.
Let me work on that. Let me work on how we could possibly fund this, Commissioner.
Yeah.
But
I don't want you doing it all personally.
But what I'm requesting from the committee is, you know, at least for now, what criteria do we want to set for this? Do we want to model it off of the county? I don't like, there's just something wrong about modeling something based on an AMI because, you know, you said it was 107,000 for a single person.
For which AMI? For 140,000, for 140% AMI, it's 121,000.
So if you're making 122,000, you don't qualify. And that, to me, I think that's, you know, it's almost counterintuitive where you don't want to make enough money to get this, you know, this incentive. So I think between the 3 of us and then eventually from the 7 of us, we can come up with a program that makes sense for Miami Beach residents, you know, that have been here for you know, decades, and see what we can do to take care of them. As far as funding, I completely understand your concerns. I share them. I think that's why we're all on the Finance Committee. And let me work on that.
Yeah, perfect. I think the parameters are less problematic to me. I think we have collectively smart people here. We could come up with them. So happy to have the team engage in that. It just becomes, you know, how impactful can we be with our funding? And happy to have you explore that.
So if I can to help, I think what I'm hearing is that we would show the sign of the return to FERC with some staff recommendations on some different revised criteria based on the committee discussion, and the team can work together with the sponsor to see if they can kind of refine a set of criteria. This is a big issue, and you take those big issues in small bites, and I think the first one is setting up the criteria, the concept, and then, I think the sponsors already talked about potential funding source, one-time developer contributions as money becomes available. And so the team would come back at the appropriate time with these revised criteria and see how the committee feels about it. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we'll show that return to FERC with a revised set of program criteria based on committee discussion. Thank you.
We have Commissioner Mateo Salinas on the line. Commissioner, please unmute yourself.
Hi, I understand this item is now closed. I'd just like to make a comment that, as chair of the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, I'd also like to be a part of these discussions, Dr. Terry, with you, because you mentioned the SHIP funding, and I know that we want to help as many people as possible, but when we take from one pot and we take from first-time home buyers program, or we take from another type of funding, it's going to be, helping one set of people at the expense of others. So I just want to be aware of that as we move forward and discuss where this funding will come from. And I understand that, possibly development projects, that's great, but let's be a little bit more careful about, our programs that already exist. And I would like this to be on the agenda for the next Affordable Housing Advisory Committee meeting to discuss. Thank you.
So just to reiterate, I'm not particularly in favor of using federal dollars, which restrict us from better defining. So I agree with Commissioner Mateo Salinas that I don't want to affect other, first-time homeowner buyers. I think we can craft this in a way that helps residents and, more importantly, fund it through other means and other opportunities that will present itself in the future.
How about we discuss the living wage for employees, and then we get out of here unless any of us have items that we need to hear? Anybody, you have the lease?
Yes, Wrangle Baker.
Why don't we do that real quick? Sorry, and because that should be quick, right, Ozzy?
Yes.
Yeah. I will call, it's going to be MB8.
Yeah.
Discuss proposed new lease agreement between the city landlord and Little Havana Activities and Nutrition Centers Incorporated tenant for use of approximately 3,500 square foot of ground floor facility and adjacent playground area having approximately 1,407 square feet located at 1245 Michigan Avenue for an initial term of 5 years with 2 additional renewal terms of 2 years each at the city's option for the operation of a childcare day facility. MB8.
Good morning, Ozzy Dominguez, Division Director of Asset Management. This is the daycare that is currently at South Shore Community Center, and with the upcoming redevelopment of that building, they're going to be shifted over to 1245 Michigan at Flamingo Park. CIP is working on finalizing all the details for that project, and with that said, we need a new agreement for the new location and new terms. So administration is requesting that this be approved and moved on.
So this is city-owned land?
Correct.
Incredible, and the amount of agita this would have saved if this was done 10 years ago, right? Yes, there was always going to be concern about what was happening to an architecturally important building, but I think the broader community's greater concern was, well, the kids that are in there, where are they going to go? And the fact that, for 10 years, we didn't have something as simple as this put into place. So thank you and your team for providing an alternative. I wouldn't have been comfortable moving forward with putting the fire station where I think by process of elimination is the only place it can go without finding an alternative dignified site for these children. So thank you and your team for doing so. It could have saved all of us a lot of, you'd still have hair, if this was 10 years ago.
It fell to my
Sorry,
face.
Marla, I don't know if that was cool or not cool. I don't know if I'm governed under your stuff, but yeah.
Politically challenged.
Okay. So we just need to, we want to hear it, just return to Commissioner the favorable recommendation to approve the lease agreement as presented.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Ozzy, for your work.
Who's making that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, the item passes 3-0. Next item MB7, discussion regarding the living wage rates beginning April 2026 in accordance with Chapter 2, Article 6, Division 6, Section 2-408 of the City Code, MB7.
Good morning, Christy
morning.
Bala, Chief Procurement Officer. This is an annual item that we present to a referral to FERC, and then we return to commission with a favorable recommendation. So this is for discussion. The administration seeks the committee's recommendation to the City Commission on an adjustment not to exceed 3%, aligned with the approved COLA for unclassified employees and a proposed effective date of April 2026.
This happens how often?
Annually, we revisit the wage rates. So currently, the wage rates are 16, this is currently for FY '25 that we passed, so now this one will be for FY '26. The current wage rates are $16.46 without health benefits and $13.01 with health benefits.
But that's
And-
just the anchor, right? Then this doesn't just apply to that class and category. This is across the board impacting how many employees?
So this applies to service contracts. And I don't believe there's any employee specifically that this would, or I defer to Marta on the employee portion.
Good morning, Marla Alpizar, HR Director. At this time, our employees' salaries, full-time with benefits are above this threshold, as well as part-time without benefits above this threshold. If we were to have an employee, that would be based on what you raise the living wage rate to as a citywide threshold. If we internally had an employee below that threshold, we would raise that salary to meet that living wage.
So does every wage in the city anchor off of that?
This really is not an item particularly for city employees.
Correct, it's more for service contracts. So for example, janitorial services, the trolley operators, security officers,
Right, I guess
service
what I'm asking,
contracts.
does this just set that base minimum rate?
Correct.
But is every service contractor then anchored off of that, so they all get a 3.5?
Correct.
How many workers does this impact?
So-
What is the budget impact of this?
We have an estimated number of hours, and the estimated number of hours is about 927,000 hours. That's inclusive of all the service contracts that we look at, so janitorial, grounds maintenance, trolleys, the parking attendants, different contracts that we have.
And when you say contracts, so this is through a third-party employer, correct?
Correct.
We have contracts that are in place for multiple years, but then we get to say whether we raise the wages on that or not?
Correct.
Besides just being a nice, kind individual, put on Joe taxpayer and Joe trying to save the city money hat, why would we put forward these raises if we already have a contract for X amount that's in place for several years?
So back in 2017, we passed an ordinance to revisit the wage rates on an annual basis. And it's capped at 3%, depending on the discretion of the committee, obviously. We've provided an increase of 1%, 2%, or 3%, since it is capped at 3%, at your discretion and recommendation to a commission.
If I can add, this is an annual item, and my
Correct.
understanding is that, and I might ask for the city attorney to chime if I'm off, I believe that there is a state preemption that was put in place that no new contracts after October 1st of this year are allowed to have this language. So this will be an item that would be, we're dealing with, I guess, legacy contracts at this point. And as we enter into new contracts after that, this language would not be in there, so it will be applicable to those contracts entered into before this October 1st. So every year we would have less and less contracts where this would be applicable to.
Yeah.
You are correct, Jason. There was a House bill that was passed starting September 30th, 2026. Any contracts that are signed after September 30th cannot, we cannot, as a city, impose any living wage rate.
Yeah, listen, I mean, when we
September
talk
30th,
about trying to keep expenses down for our taxpayers, right, if we have a contract that says, here's what our service providers make, and it's not as if we're living in a pre-COVID world and inflation has just gone up 10, 15%, right? So we just provided wage increases the last several years, Mr. CFO?
My understanding is, the couple of years I've been here, the commission has approved the living wage. Has there been any of the years since this is?
So there was 1 year, fiscal year '22, that there was no impact. We did not increase it at all. In '21, we increased it by 1%. And then the last FY '23, '24, and '25, we did a 3% increase.
But every year the commission has approved whatever the living wage,
Oh,
whatever
absolutely.
the number is. If it's zero, it's zero, but.
Correct, absolutely, yeah.
And what were the ones, 3% per year since post-COVID, minus 22?
Correct. It was 1% in '21, 0% in '22, and then '23, '24, and '25.
Yeah, listen, I'd love to give everybody raises all the time, but give more money to service workers. We're asking more money of our residents. We're focused on affordability for our residents here. I'm going to make a motion to keep wages where they're at, what's specified in the contract.
Second. Or I'll move it.
Yeah, I'll second that.
So, I'm understanding this would return to commission with a favorable recommendation to reject the living wage increase.
No.
To continue at the FY
Oh,
'25.
the favorable recommendation to continue at the FY '25
So a 0% increase.
and '25 rates.
We're also not lowering rates. Right. There's been plenty of years. I go into my boss and go, you know what? You did great this year. It's a tough environment for the economy. We would have loved to have taken care of you. We can't do so like we did last year. I've had that conversation probably more times than I haven't.
So we'll return to the commission with a favorable recommendation to continue at the FY '25 rates. Okay. We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor? Aye. All right, hearing none
Thank
opposed,
you.
the item passes 3-0. Chair, I do apologize. I believe parking was asking, they had a very quick update that they needed.
How quick, Will? How quick can you get up here? I just gave you all that praise, bro.
OB4, discuss the resolution of the Mayor Commission accepting the recommendation of the Finance and Economic Resiliency Committee for its April 19, 2024 meeting to accept the city administration's update on City Miami Beach Parking Department enforcement updates, OB4.
Will, just thinking through efficiency, you ever think you wouldn't have to run if you didn't sit in the back corner?
I love that back corner, sir.
I could tell.
Alberto and Jackie and the parking department taught me that back corner and, out of sight, out of mind, sir. I'm going to ignore most of the update because I want to make this as quick as possible. However, it does include smaller vehicles.
I'd love to hear some things here. Just to be fully transparent, I want to have a more robust conversation, even with you, in a one-on-one forum before we close this out. So would love to get some updates here, but I'm not going to close it out.
Yes, I believe he has one specific action
Yep,
motion he's
awesome.
going to be asking, and then we will show the item continue to stay open.
So the parking department is currently in a 3-month no-cost pilot program with a new technology called tow books. So before, when anytime the city had to implement the tow, it was all done via paper, via 5 different radio relays. To say that it was inefficient is an understatement. This new technology in the 3-4 months we've been utilizing it right now has been incredibly beneficial to our officers. It also allows us to document the situation a million times over because not only do they have all of the information that is digitally documented, however, we are also able to immediately upload photos, videos, all of the information, verify the VIN, and I would simply like for the committee to move to the commission to allow us a 1-year pilot to continue with this just to ensure, because 3-4 months is great, but it does have a cost to it, and however, the efficiencies are above and beyond.
I'll second that. While we're on this, not on this particularly, some things that stand out. Again, I want to be more prepared for this. I know we had LPR readers that were in a car, right?
Yes, sir.
And it was one of our last parking directors. You say, well, we only do it 1 out of every 3 days because the car gets tired and it needs a rest. So I don't know. I didn't know autonomous cars were joining unions, but it's crazy times that we live in. And also, did it cause traffic in Flamingo Park having this car? That always struck me as odd. But it's, are we re-implementing those LPR drivers?
So we do have them right now. However, that's actually one of the items that's in this for the continued. So right now, the city only has 3 working LPR vehicles.
One's on vacation.
We'll go with that, sir. And to be very honest, I want to outfit our fleet with about 15, because in order to do efficient and effective enforcement, all of our enforcement vehicles need to be driving around with these units on there, because it now turns each parking enforcement specialist into a Swiss Army knife. We can do that LPR enforcement in residential neighborhoods, on-street parking lots.
What do you need from us to get that moving?
With that, we simply wanted to discuss, hey, we want the ability to go out and search for a turnkey solution, which means whether we use Omnia or whether we piggyback off another municipality. This allows us to go get technology, cameras, equipment, and service, and move very, very quickly.
Is this something you need from us today?
No, it was simply an update to kind of let you know that we have the ability to use these government contracts that are Sourcewell, Omnia, NPP, that allows us to procure in an efficient, effective manner. But by going out and talking to other municipalities that already have these technologies, because I know I have experience with 3 different LPR technologies in my career. Every one of them have benefits, every one have drawbacks. And so just kind of giving an update that we are about to go out and search for the biggest and brightest. And on top of smaller vehicles, which we are purchasing very quickly through a Sourcewell contract, we are going to be searching for a much larger, I'll say, footprint with the LPRs and the technology.
Yeah, well, I've never understood why, for parking efficiency and enforcement, why I have people out there driving 14-foot pickup trucks. I'm a big golf cart advocate. I see no reason why some of your guys and gals can't be out there. Your ability to fit in tight spaces, to navigate tight corners. Let's just be smart and use common sense.
Why do you guys have trucks? Like with a bed?
So the biggest reason for trucks is cones and GP. So we have teams that place out the space rentals.
We're the no cone commission.
I think the department has some MOT responsibilities.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Do you need an act?
Yes, I think return to commission with a favorable recommendation to direct administration to continue with a 1-year pilot program for the program as presented.
Yes, move it.
Okay, Commissioner Suarez, do we have a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and we'll also show this item to remain at FERC to come back with a future updated.
Team, great
Thank you so very much.
Thank you for everybody.
Great meeting.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.